by our staff, it may not be correct. All opinions made by the hosts or their guests are theirs alone and should not be considered legal advice. Be sure to consult an attorney before attempting anything you hear on the show. Just because we say it on the internet doesn't mean it will stand up in court. Now, here are your hosts.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Welcome to the show. Who is that?
Hello.
You know who that was, don't you? Very famous quote.
Washington?
No, it wasn't Washington. The recordings weren't that good back then. Ooh, feedback.
Yeah.
That's better. It was a Roosevelt or a Roosevelt, depending on what part of the country you're in.
Roosevelt.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR was a
communist,
strong
socialist.
Constitutional Scot.
No, he wasn't at all.
What? He didn't take people's gold from them or anything.
Yes,
like
he
that.
did. Yes, he did.
What?
Yep.
But it wasn't an executive order that he signed to just take their gold.
Yes, it was.
What?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, and he had lots of social programs and social welfare and created government jobs for people. And he saved the country, don't you know?
What? Well, I know he did. I mean, he was.
Yeah, the gold confiscation I wasn't quite aware of. My brother mentioned. I said, no, that's impossible.
Yeah,
no president could get away with that.
Most Americans have that same thought.
Yeah.
Of, no, there's no way a president would ever do that or get away with signing an executive order that says, hey, by next Friday, you're going to turn in all of the gold you own.
And I thought an executive order was supposed to only apply to federal employees and existing laws and things like that. That they can't just create this law that is applied like they think they can.
We could probably do a 4-hour show on the history of executive orders and what they were really intended to be used. I mean, Washington signed a few of them, and that was a couple of years ago. And people think he's, one of the greatest presidents we've ever had.
Name an executive order that Washington wrote.
Well, I thought he was the one that took our gold, but I guess it was. You're telling me it was Roosevelt?
It was Roosevelt.
Yeah. See, I guess I have that backwards.
I grew up hearing stories about that. I grew up hearing stories about when my grandparents and the people around me were older, and they're actually saying they had like a gold watch, and they'd actually dutifully took it in so they could remove it from the case from it.
Yeah.
And so they could take it and turn it in. I went, bullshit! I would have done that.
Yeah.
It's absurd. But I mean, there was like a 10-year prison or $10,000 fine or something if you got caught. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that has really no. Well, I guess it is.
It's pertinent today
to freedom.
It really is. If you have gold, do you own it?
Well, I think.
And apparently Roosevelt said no. The government owns it.
Well, you do, but you have to. At that point, you had to turn it over to the government. Well, I think it did exempt like things of intrinsic value,
wedding bands, stuff
coins
like that,
and things like that.
Yeah, wedding bands stuff.
So I mean,
wasn't that nice of them to let you keep some of your stuff?
Well, that's the big thing. If you're going to invest in gold, maybe you should pay a little more and invest in rings, commemorative coins, and rings and things with intrinsic value.
Right.
Well, another thing is, it actually won't work now because they already got that covered. Because now they just had an act that they signed another executive order, I think it was, saying that even rainwater you collect now could be commandeered by the government. So and if the produce that you produce in your own gardens can be taken by the government now.
It's getting to be really scary, people.
Yeah.
Well, we want to welcome you to another episode of Saturday Afternoon Shootout. We talk about all kinds of great stuff right here in Flint, on Flint Talk Radio. We're broadcasting, of course, from the 15th floor of the Wilson Building in the heart of Vehicle City in downtown Flint, Michigan. We have lots of interesting topics to talk about, don't we, Nate?
We do.
What was the weather out there? It was a little frightening, wasn't it?
That's what I wanted to start with. Your reaction to the roads and to my driving.
Well, it was more so towards the semi-truck.
How you were completely calm the entire time, and
I was almost dozing
and almost appreciative that you had a ride. That in fact you didn't have to drive yourself or walk here.
Yeah,
I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Yeah, my adrenaline is starting to come down now. I've stopped the shaking.
Yeah.
Heart rate's back to normal, and I changed my underwear. But other than that, your driving is great.
And fortunately, you changed your underwear while we were still
driving.
Yeah. Deal with that.
Right around Miller Road.
Kind of weird. And if you're driving around Miller Road,
watch out for that.
Don't run them over.
You don't want to get that on your tires or anything. Well, we've got a couple of things we want to just make announcements on. The Capital Area District Library versus Michigan Open Carry has come up in the news again. John, I don't think you're aware of this, but the cattle has submitted paperwork to the Michigan Supreme Court to appeal the Court of Appeals decision to try to overturn it. I don't think they have a chance in hell, but we need to raise money because our attorneys do have to address it. And if you go to michiganopencarry.org, they have a donation spot on there. It's the Bars of Justice, Scale of Justice, I should say, logo. Click on that and you can donate whatever you'd like to help the cause. Now, this affects all gun owners, not just open carry, because if the Supreme Court were to take the case, which I don't think they will, if they do, and they reverse the Court of Appeals, that means that authorities can regulate firearms, and that's really bad news for gun owners, because then every municipality can form authorities for everything from sidewalks to buildings to, you name it, park authorities. Transportation, anything. If they call it an authority, it's not a local unit of government, doesn't fall under preemption, and they can regulate firearms. So we really need to fight that. So if you can donate to that cause, we'd really love it.
The other side of this to think of is the money that the Capital Area District Library is wasting on this.
Almost $100,000
so far, of at least partially tax money.
A lot of it is.
I don't know. I would say most of it probably is. I don't know how it breaks down. There may be some
There's
private
some donations, but most of it's public funds.
Yeah, and that's just
asinine and ridiculous.
Where else would a government or a community-run thing get money from other from the taxpayers?
Right, and that's the argument. They're like, we are not a local unit of government, but we get all our money from local unit of government, so they can't have their cake and eat it too, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, we are above and beyond the Constitution and all of this, and we're not a local unit of government, and we can do what we want. Court of Appeals didn't think that was true. They did. The Court of Appeals agreed that the authorities do have, or that the Capital Area District Library, based on the law, does have the right to regulate firearms if there wasn't a preemption law. Unfortunately for them, there's this preemption law where the state occupies the field of gun right laws, and these local authorities and governments can't enact gun laws that are more restrictive than the state. So the argument is basically coming down to that. Oh, and the big thing they want to do is the library also wants the Supreme Court, which I can't imagine they'll even discuss. They want them to determine that open carry is brandishing and is against the law.
And that was part of Cattle's initial suit, right?
Initial suit.
And it wasn't really addressed.
Right. The circuit court didn't really make a ruling, but she had, in her opinion, was that brandishing was more than open carry. There had to be an intent to intimidate or threaten someone. The Court of Appeals didn't even touch it, and that's where we're at. But they keep putting it in there because they know they're not going to win this authority thing, so they're trying to get open carry outlawed across the whole friggin' state. So it's an important case. We need money for our lawyers to prepare a response to that appeal, so that's what we need.
Like you said, it definitely directly affects concealed carriers as well.
Yes, it's concealed carry, because that was also brought up. They want to ban concealed carry as well. So they said at first they didn't, but they do.
Michigan Open Carry is taking the donations, right? miopencarry.org.
Right. So and there's an actual icon there that you can click on. It'll go right to that.
Scales of Justice.
It's a legal fund. The second thing is that several Michigan gun right groups are getting together to organize a march on March 20th. That's a Wednesday. We want to be there while the legislators are there. It's going to start at 9:30. They're going to have an actual march from Pennsylvania Avenue in Michigan, and they're going to march up Michigan to the Capitol. That's 0.8 miles, so it's an eighth of a mile. If you don't want to go on the march, you can come right to the Capitol. The thing starts at 10 o'clock. To visit with your representatives if you want. Entertainment will start at around 11, then we'll have speakers, entertainment, blah, 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 until 1 o'clock, and then from 1 until 2 you can meet with your other reps or your senator, you know. So we're hoping to get 3,000 or 4,000 people to come out to that rally, rain or shine, cold or snow, fleet or rain or bombs.
It's going to be a beautiful day that day.
We hope it's going to be a pretty day.
I'm hoping.
We're going to have a large tent where the organizers are going to be. There's going to be booths there with information. We'll have a stage. Hopefully we'll have a good band like we've had on the other ones. We get, what are they calling themselves now?
High-class truckers.
High-class truckers have played at a lot of our rallies.
So
they're a really good group. So, excuse me. Pass it out, share it on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Take the day off. We know it's a Wednesday. We know it's tough, but the reason they did it is to be able to meet with your reps.
Yeah, they are in session that day. So
that's March 20th.
March 20th. And Second Amendment March is leading it up. All the gun groups are involved in the major
most of them,
groups
yeah.
in Michigan.
Michigan gun owners, Michigan open carry, students for concealed carry on campus is involved.
Michigan Coalition of Responsible Gun Owners.
Yes, they are as well. They're the main lead. Second Amendment March and them are the big dogs, I guess, that are putting most of the money and the organizing into it. So
I'd imagine, are they accepting donations or no? Or
I think it's going to go all through MOC. I think they're no, I'm sorry. It's going through SAM.
Second Amendment March.
Second Amendment March, you go to the website and there's a place to donate money there. You can certainly donate at the march. Second Amendment March, and some of the groups I think will have merchandise for sale as a fundraiser as well. So, and you can certainly join those organizations that day as well to show your support. So
yeah, when you look into filings that have to happen for some reason, which I don't really understand with this whole Constitution thing, but filings to peaceably assemble in front of the Capitol, and a sound company that you have to pay for, and a band that you have to pay
tent
for,
rentals,
all of the other logistics, they definitely can use your money.
Right.
So a couple choices to donate between MOC and their very important case with the Capital Area District Library and the march coming up on the 20th. I say pick one, or ideally both. And
yeah, if you can help out. But even if you can't give any money, we need bodies there. We need people to come to the march.
Oh, definitely.
And have a good time and show your support for the Second Amendment. Let your legislators know that you don't want any stinking gun control in their state. And that's all I have for those things. I know what it was. It was the shooting in Detroit with the high school coach. Remember you said
you said that happened. You said that happened yesterday.
Yesterday there was some good guys winning out. Yesterday.
I was having a disco dance party, so I didn't catch this on the news.
Yeah, for 6 and 7, 8-year-olds. I bet you had fun.
Yeah, I actually did my taxes while it was going on.
He emailed me and said I should have come over to your house and got drunk, and I said, why? What's wrong? Disco party at his house for his kids and friends. That was fun. I said, just run around in your underwear. That'll break up the party pretty fast.
I didn't do that.
No, that's good.
Did not do that.
That could raise other issues.
Yep.
But last night, we had, in Detroit, we had a high school or junior high, I'm not sure which, I think it was high school, maybe it was a junior varsity girls basketball coach, after practice was walking some of the players in the parking lot as security, sort of helping them get to their cars, when apparently two guys jumped them. The stories are sketchy, but the guy may have had a gun or something. But the coach, who was a reserve police officer, pulled his gun and fired and hit both of them. One ran into the meridian of the road and died. The other was taken to a hospital in serious condition. And I just want to point out that's another good guy telling people in Detroit, stop trying to prey on people, because we have guns and they know that the police aren't going to be there to protect them, and they're taking responsibility to protect themselves and others. And then like an hour later, some guy was at a bus station, claims that he was being accosted and mugged or something at the bus station. He had a CPL, drew his gun and fired and killed a person at the bus stop. That's under investigation. I don't know. I don't have any further details.
It's hard to say what'll come out of that. We don't want to speculate.
Yeah, we don't know if that was.
I'd like to address the issue, the not so obvious issue with the first story you told about at Detroit Public Schools. On the surface, you and I look at it and we say, a good guy with a gun saved people's lives.
Potentially saved their lives.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you don't screw around. Somebody points a gun at you. That
is more evidence that a good guy with a gun can stop bad guys
with a gun,
with ill intent. And to me, you throw that in the face of the Brady campaign to reduce gun violence, or any of the anti-gun idiots.
Obama,
Joe Biden. She's stupider than you would imagine, and we can get to that. More stupider.
She's more stupider.
We can get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we have some stuff for that.
The problem, they'll throw right back at you. He was a reserve police officer.
Yeah, he wasn't an ordinary
citizen. So it proves that the additional training and all of this expertise that reserve police officers have is the reason that he was able to do anything.
But here's the here's the catcher. I know a lot of like reserve deputies and reserve police officers that have no more training than the normal CPL course.
Yeah,
and they can
that's
carry
not
all
always
these
the
on.
case.
That's not always the case, but some are just regular people that have some training in firearm use and are reserve officers. So I don't know what his level of experience was, but
anti-gun people always point that out, though. They
Right.
make it like they imbue these guys with certain powers, and
they're supermen.
yeah, it's like, well, if cops deal with way more than just pulling guns on people. I mean, or marksmanship.
Yeah.
There's much more than most of it's paperwork and report making. That's what it is.
It's very monotonous. Tends to be boring work.
Well, I heard someone, I don't remember which talk show they were on, but they were talking about having police at a school or whatever, that the police ended up shooting innocent bystanders. So that's proof that more guns don't, it doesn't keep people safe. Well, if you look at the statistics, and I haven't looked in the last year maybe, but it seemed that police had a higher percentage.
We talked about this
of
on the
hits
show.
on, I don't know.
Yeah, you were here. It was like 14.7 people. Oh no, it was not. I'm sorry. That was people killed versus. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But
yeah, it was
the
a lot
data
more.
I've seen is that the police have a higher percentage of hitting innocent bystanders than just your typical gun owner.
And that makes some sense because they're.
That's not saying anything bad against the police. Right. I'm just pointing out that when you throw these facts out, you have to, look at the actual data and then analyze it a bit before you just.
And we were talking before the show a little bit about the guy that was the undercover security guard or something at a school that.
Yeah, the school shooting in Alabama. A 14-year-old, I think he was 14, brought a gun in and killed started shooting. He hit. I think one kid got hit. In the back of the head, I think. I'm not positive about that. But security guard disarmed the kid and stopped the incident there.
Right.
And then Pierce Morgan, we all love Pierce Morgan.
Yeah.
He's
a guy.
Brilliant British guy.
Well-versed in the Constitution.
Just below Michael Moore on the intelligence level when it comes to firearms and things like that. But he said the security guard wasn't able to stop the incident.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, he did. He potentially stopped a mass shooting, and that's really the goal.
I thought he said, And
I don't have the exact quote.
I think the point that the anti-gun are missing when we talk about having law-abiding citizens have guns in gun-free zones, they're not going to stop murders. But we've always said that they have the potential to stop multiple murders or mass murders. It's not going to stop somebody from coming in anywhere and shooting some people.
Hopefully mitigate some of the damage.
It mitigates. Hopefully that's the idea, is that the idea is that it'll mitigate the death toll by being able to at least fire back at the person and give others a chance, as opposed to having nobody there and the murderer comes in there and just shoots people whenever and wherever he wants. It's not going to stop crime. You can't stop crime.
Right.
By the way, we just had a shooting here in the past week at a Chase Bank out on Corona Road, and I thought somebody shot right inside the place, and I didn't know what it was, and my brother-in-law informed me it was a security guard taking out a would-be
I heard about that. Yeah.
And so I don't know the whole details on that, but I mean, that could have been a potential a horrific disaster.
Yeah. Who knows?
You don't know, and that's the problem. That
helps level the playing field.
That points out the problem that we have is you can't prove that security guard or the security guard in Atlanta or any other gun, law-abiding citizen stopped a mass murder, because they may have stopped what was happening at that time, but if it wasn't already a mass murder and they stopped it before it became a mass murder, you can't use that data saying that they stopped a mass murder.
I got a follow-up letter from Senator Levin when I wrote about one of these gun issues, and he just enumerated his anti-gun legacy.
Well, what else
and
can
he
he
actually said, I was part of this, and this stopped.
I'm so proud.
This stopped this many crimes. I went, that's specious logic. How can you tell me how many crimes are going to be committed the next year?
Yeah.
If you have that knowledge and then don't prevent it, then you should be held accountable if you actually knew how much crimes are going to be done.
I wrote back and I said, that's all great. I said, I disagree with everything you just said. I said, I'll continue never to vote for you, and I hope you retire immediately, because you need to get out of office now.
Yeah, and he does. And the problem is he probably didn't see your letter.
No,
I like to quote
that made me feel better.
I like to quote some important documents that I found over the years. It's the Constitution. That's the one I go to usually. I like to quote that back to him, and they don't care. But no. I still do it. It makes me feel a little
because it's
better.
a living document. It can be changed.
Speaking of Levin's, I don't know if you want to get into this or not, but Levin's, I probably got the same letter that both of you got. He quoted the infamous 40% of gun sales that are made outside of made without a background check. That's the number that we keep hearing. The president said it. Carl Levin said it. Feinstein said it. I've heard almost every anti-gun person out there throw out this 40% remark. And
it's where did it come from?
Yeah.
And how do they know? That's what I was saying earlier on other shows we've done here. Where how do they know 40% of private sales? What color are unicorns? How can you know?
The person I heard cited for citing that source as a source was a police chief from Maryland, and it's like, well, that's again specious logic, specious reasoning. Okay, another thing is too, if a government agency is supposed to be in place to do the background checks, then that means they're the drop in the ball, not the average citizen.
All right.
So they're actually admitting failure on their own behalf.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it.
Well, here's the thing: there actually is a report out or a survey done. There's actually 36% in the survey.
This number did actually come from data. I mean, they rounded up, which you just round it. It doesn't matter. You can round whatever you want.
And it's from over 20 years ago. In the Clinton administration.
It's getting a little less reliable.
It's before the Brady background check was established.
Even less reliable.
And it was only 251 people.
200.
And the big thing is they counted family inheritances and gifts as part of the private sales. So, But the real thing is the question was, have you bought a gun from a private person? And if they thought they did, they said yes. Well, the problem was that back then there were almost 300,000 FFL dealers, many of them working out of their homes. And so a lot of people were actually buying guns from FFLs that weren't private sales. They just didn't realize the guy had a license.
Yeah, you go to your neighbor's house who has an FFL legitimately and sells you a gun at the kitchen table.
Right.
You're buying it through a federally licensed dealer, but it doesn't feel like it. You're not going into a storefront.
Right. And today, unfortunately, because they regulated and they wanted to get rid of FFLs and try to stop that, they made it so difficult that there's only 118,000 FFLs approximately in the country now.
Well, you have to have a storefront that's open for business.
Almost down 2/3 of what it once was. They increased the license fee and the bookkeeping and all this stuff. So that makes the data even worse. Well, John Lott wrote an article and he explained all this, and his numbers he's thinking is closer to 10% or maybe less are actually bought from private individuals. And he's saying, so what? He says, does the background check work? There's another number they throw around. Obama said it, that the background check works because we stopped 1.5 million people from buying guns. If they look at the actual data, those were just denials. 95% of those denials were later approved or dismissed.
Right. Yeah, so the terminology is what's wrong here. They have that many initial denials, most of them erroneous.
And I know people that have been denied and they have a perfectly good background check. It was a glitch, or they got it confused with someone else's name. It was entered wrong.
He brought up a good point. Kennedy was on the no-fly list.
Yeah,
and maybe he should have been. I mean, we could go down that road.
Well, he shouldn't have been driving or flying the plane, anyways.
Right.
So, and the thing is, of those 1.5 millions that were denied, which later wasn't, they only went after 62 people for trying to commit a crime of buying a gun when they were prohibited, and only 13 were ever found guilty or pleaded guilty to it. Out of 1.5 million, of course, most of them were innocent. And he says background checks that have delays like that actually put people at risk.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Because if some poor woman's ex-husband starts snooping around and says, I'm going to kill you, she goes to try to buy a gun to protect herself, and, it's a delay, come back in a week or two, and she's slaughtered in her bedroom at night from some crazy guy, it puts people at risk. And it costs a lot of money. So does a background check work or not? I don't think it's stopped anybody. As a matter of fact, John Lott in his article said the Connecticut shooting, the Wisconsin shooting of the Sikhs, and the Colorado massacres were all bought by people with background checks. So if the idea is to stop bad people from getting guns, it doesn't matter because
right. Yeah,
they're going to get guns.
Exactly.
The other thing was McCarthy, this woman we're going to talk about. We can talk about her if you want.
Yeah, sure.
If women
Let's get into that.
Women she's really stupid. This Carolyn McCarthy.
I was going to say the opposite. That she amazes me how bright she is.
She said, if there were no guns in any stores, nobody could buy a gun
from a store.
Well, no, that makes sense. How's that working for marijuana and for heroin and cocaine and meth? It's stupid. But they believe that. They believe that if we somehow make it illegal to own a gun, all the guns will just go away and no one will have one.
I actually get my meth from the meth aisle at Walmart, so I don't think that's a good analogy.
It's called Sudafed.
Oh, yeah.
That's just an ingredient.
We got to ban chemicals, too, now. We got to ban chemicals. Somebody might use them in a bad combination.
Yeah, okay, so we got a soundbite from her, but this is what, not yet, but I just want to say two things. She's a strong proponent of women in combat, of course. But she also said that women shouldn't shoot assault rifles. That if the women are going to be in combat, that they should use traditional rifles rather than assault rifles. I'm not sure what a traditional rifle is. Rifles
a muzzle loader.
That's what I think she means.
Yes, those muskets.
And when you want a woman to have your back, if you're going into a firefight with a musket, now, honey, here, you use this musket because you can't handle this.
Don't miss.
Yeah, whatever you do, make sure you shoot the guy with the other guns. Oh, there's 100 of them? Well, we're screwed. So she's really, really, really stupid. Or she's not stupid, and she's saying these things
being intentionally dishonest. Yeah.
But she actually said something like this.
I will tell you, if you talk to professional hunters and certainly sportsmen, they'll tell you that's probably not the kind of gun to use. A rifle is more accurate. It's certainly easier for a woman to be able to do that. So again,
yeah, and
she doesn't even know that an assault rifle is a rifle.
They were talking about AR-15s, I think.
That's a rifle.
Okay, a shorter barrel on a rifle would be like making a carbine. Okay, there's no distinction.
It's still a rifle,
right? But
the thing is, an assault rifle is easier for a woman to use. It's smaller, it's lighter, it has less recoil, and it has more rounds capability.
Hold on, an assault rifle is easier for a woman to use than what? Than a rifle?
Than a traditional rifle.
That's the big point here, I think. What's a traditional rifle?
I don't know what she means.
I don't get it. What's an assault weapon? It's the same thing. I don't understand.
The AR-15, the M16 design's been around for what, 40 years now, 45?
Is that traditional?
That's a tradition, right? That's tradition.
According to her, it's not traditional. So, history did exist before that. We talked about that this morning, but, we were eating breakfast. It was good breakfast.
It was. I'm still burping it up.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Let's see.
Do we have many earthquakes around here? We had a couple earthquakes.
We have a few. They're rare.
They are rare,
but they're not.
You were in an earthquake in.
I was in a big earthquake in
California,
1989. The one during the World Series. I was in San Jose, just south of the Bay. Not far from the epicenter, actually. That was a 7.1 earthquake. A very, very fun experience. I could go into that if you want.
You weren't. You weren't stranded or anything, though. You weren't worried about people coming to take your supplies or pillage your village or anything like that.
No, I was in California. I didn't have any guns. I was there for seismic training, by the way. Unfortunately, we didn't have our seismograph up. But we had some really great data.
The timing on that's funny. Well, much like Homeland Security says, if there's a shooter in your workplace, grab some scissors or possibly hide where they can't see you, rather than hiding where they can see you. That's an important distinction.
In my workplace, they distributed a printout of a little card that you could print out and tells you what to do if there's a workplace shooter. And so I responded, do I laminate that and hold that little card up, and will that deflect the bullets when they're coming at me? And they didn't appreciate it.
I worked at a place that had a trainer come in who, by the way, when asked, said only police should have guns because they're trained to use guns. Because obviously that was asked by certain people. But theirs was you hide it in a conference room, and all of these conference rooms have these laminated cards, either red or green. If everybody's okay in the conference room, you slide the green card under the door so the police know that you're in there and you're okay. And if someone's hurt, you slide the red card under the door. That's
brilliant.
I'm guessing they're assuming that these shooters are colorblind and also can't see cards under the door, and the conference rooms were all lined in glass. But I mean, the logic of this training, police should have guns, and you should hole up in a conference room with no weapons and put this card under the door so it's obvious which conference room you're in.
Well, you don't want that gunman trace beam through the entire building. Just make it convenient for him so he can execute as many people in one spot.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. I guess if you can, efficiency was really important at that company. Well, they said it was. It wasn't. But.
Well, I'm thinking that if you weren't all right and there was somebody injured, that you could take that bleeding person and put them up against the door and their blood would flow red out into the hallway, and then they would know.
Maybe so. Why waste the money on the laminated?
You don't need a red card.
Well, then the first responders would say we didn't know if that was an actually injured person or somebody accidentally had a ketchup bottle.
That's true. That's true. But Joe Biden did have some good tips on what sort of means you should have to defend yourself if there's an earthquake, if you're worried about people coming to steal your things.
Yeah, during a natural disaster, this is what he recommends.
There's an awful, and guess what? A shotgun will keep you a lot safer. A double-barrel shotgun than the assault weapons in somebody's hands who doesn't know how to use it, even one who does know how to use it. It's harder to use an assault weapon to hit something than it is a shotgun, okay? So you want to keep people away in an earthquake, buy some shotgun shells.
If we let you have them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it is brilliant. A double barrel.
It's just common sense.
I'm surprised you didn't say a single shot.
Well, yeah, you don't need two bullets.
You don't need two bullets.
You don't need two bullets to kill a deer.
And speaking of how many rounds, do you want to do my top 10?
Yeah, let's do your top 10.
Top 10 reasons that you should own a 30-round magazine.
Do you think Obama skeet shoots with a double-barrel shotgun?
I think it's an over-under.
You think so?
I'm sure he uses some foreign-made, very expensive, high-class shotgun.
A Kenyan shotgun?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And by the way, when he said that, he didn't say, I do a lot of skeet shooting.
No. He said, we do skeet shooting all the time.
We do a lot of skeet shooting.
When I have guests up there and things.
They do. He doesn't.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He said we, though.
Yeah, we. Yeah.
When you say we,
That's includes
That's
inclusive.
Me.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Top 10 reasons to own a 30-round magazine.
There's no golf courses at Camp David.
There isn't? Are you sure?
Don't think so. I'm pretty sure.
Top 10 reasons you need a 30-round magazine. Number 10, zombies.
It's a good one.
I really think that's 10.
A good one.
Number 9, drug cartels. Not so much, well, maybe in Flint. But along the southern border, they have a little problem with some of the drug cartels.
Yep.
Number 8, gang attacks, because gangs always are 30 or more, right? If it's under 30 in a gang, they're not called gangs anymore.
They're never more than 30.
It's a gaggle.
There's usually 28 to 29 members in a gang.
That's a gaggle. But if it's an actual gang, it's 30 or more, so you need 30-round magazine.
Well,
number 7, racial attacks. Racial prejudice. There was a case where a black family moved into a neighborhood and the Hispanic people were threatening them and doing all kinds of nasty racial things and swearing and threatening, and they kind of stood their ground with a 30-round magazine gun, and so racial attacks I threw in there.
It happens. It has happened.
Yes, certainly. Number 6, riots, and not Quiet Riot.
I like Quiet Riot.
I do. But riots could happen. Look at L.A., the Korean neighborhood, held off all those looters with lots of guns, not only 30-round magazine guns, but double-barrel shotguns.
Double-barrel shotguns.
Yeah. All right, so...
I think that only applies to earthquakes, the double-barrel being
that's
the
number
best.
5. Number 5, natural disasters. They can cause all kinds of problems with society, and you might have looters and wanderers and zombies. Number 4, economic collapse. Number 3 reason to have a 30-round magazine is to mirror the same personal arms that the military and the police have. All I ask is to be as well armed as the military and the police. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't think it's unreasonable, and I don't think it goes against the intention of the Second Amendment.
I think that's exactly the intention of the Second Amendment. Number 2 reason is tyranny. All right?
Number 2, huh?
Number 2, because...
Also known as progressiveness.
Whatever you call it, by any other name, it would stink as bad. But the number
2, tyranny number 2, really.
Tyranny number 2, because...
I can't think of anything that could possibly be a higher priority.
Au contraire, my friend.
Au contraire. I can't think of it.
The number 1 reason to own a 30-round magazine is to piss off that limey bastard, Pierce Morgan.
Pierce Morgan.
That's the number one
Maybe if we
reason.
do enough, he'll go home, okay?
That's
He'll pack his stuff up and go home.
That'd be good. He won't.
And speaking of
doesn't seem to wanna do
tyranny,
it. Would he be pissed off by a double barrel shotgun?
no, he would. I'm sure he skeet shoots all the time.
I doubt that.
Probably with Obama.
Here's the problem, and I do want to be serious about this.
Oh no! Since when?
Right now, I just decided that I'm going to
I'll
be
put my foot
serious
down.
going forward. When the assault weapons are banned,
Yes.
and things happen, like if we had an assault weapons ban and something like Columbine happened in the middle of an assault weapons ban, theoretically,
That would never happen.
No, it wouldn't. But if something like that did happen, which it did,
Oh, wait a minute! It did, yeah.
then they don't say, never mind. They say, oh,
We need more.
We need more. We need to ban the double barrel shotguns because that's what was used, or the handguns.
Right.
And that's why I think right now,
The slippery slope argument that they talk about.
that's exactly what it is. Right now, Pierce Morgan might be happy if we got rid of 30-round clips and had double barrel
Or
shotguns.
strips, whatever you call them.
Well, strips are.
Anyways.
that can be a little more.
The point is, they're never going to be satisfied.
Right.
And when you easily give up a certain segment of the arms, they know they can come and get more.
It's all downhill.
That's bad.
By the way, what was Pierce Morgan here for? Wasn't he some kind of celebrity in England?
He was
Wasn't
asked to leave
when he was fired and
because of like falsifying pictures.
Yeah,
or something
He's
like that.
he's wanted for crimes over there or something. I don't know.
But he wants,
Your mic's cutting in and out.
yeah, he wants us to make us England so he feels more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, the question
With
is,
his armed security.
the question that you get is, well, we don't need the Second Amendment now. That was to protect against tyranny, from the British or from our own government. You don't stand a chance against our government.
And we're at no threat of tyranny now.
And I'm saying the threat of tyranny is greater now than it was in 1780, because in 1780 the citizens had the exact same arms that the army did, and there was no standing army. It was the people, and the state militias were more sovereign and independent, and you could have Georgia fight against the Carolinas if they wanted, because every person had the exact same type of weapon. That's not the case anymore.
No.
We have the largest standing army in the world. We have the most powerful army in the world, and if they want to take over, they can do it. And why they're even trying to get rid of our 30-round magazine, I don't know, because if they wanted to, they could. But what I'm saying is, why can't we have at least some of the same weaponry that the Army and the police have? I mean, the police are just as sophisticated and armed as many military forces.
In some cases, for
In
sure.
some cases, more. I mean, they have tanks now, and armored vehicles, and grenades, and rocket launchers, and the whole thing. So we are more at threat, and our government has more capability to throw us into tyranny than they ever did over the last 200
Well, look at
years.
the technology they have at their disposal to track us. They have cameras they can put on anywhere that don't require they got a battery source that they can fire up.
It's for your safety.
But it's for our safety. Yeah, that's what. Doesn't what they
I saw the camera picture of the cameras looking down. It says, "A terrorist caught, 8,000 speeding tickets written."
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Well, another thing is too. It's like what they always say though. I mean, basically, people will give up their freedom for the idea of safety. It wasn't the Committee of Public Safety, the group that went around executing thousands of people during the French Reign of Terror. I mean,
Yeah, but you can't think about that, and you're not really told the truth about those sorts of things either. But Brian, I've heard you say several times that safety is the tyrant's tool.
For who can be against safety?
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It's a hard argument to be, well, it's for your own safety, so we're going to take your rights away, and you're not using them anyways, So, and
that's part of the problem.
And the problem is people today believe that. They really believe that. The government's there to take care of me. I'm not going to worry as long as I get my food and my cell phone and my bling and blang.
We had this discussion earlier about
I get my food stamps and everything. I'll do whatever the government wants.
We had the discussion earlier about whether the Republicans need to change their platform and how they can win elections and things. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the entitlements, and we're more and more and more and more Americans are becoming dependent on the government,
Right.
and that just creates an environment where the government can very easily control more and more and more and more Americans. If you control their communication and you control their food supply, and if you can control their arms, that's the big one.
And America will die.
Nothing you can't do.
And you got your education system under control by the government.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason. I mean, it's indoctrination. When
freedom will die with a
whimper,
whimper and not a bang,
Yep.
Or a cell phone and not a 30-round magazine.
And it started with a bang, though. That's what, I mean, that's what's sad
the
about
irony.
it.
Yeah, the irony. Did you want to touch on that or not?
Yeah,
we can talk about some of the government agencies and how they're there to protect us, for example.
Yeah, let's do that. And admittedly, this is mostly from memory. I have a few notes I threw down before the show, but
it's been discussed.
It's been discussed several times. But going along with the government's there to protect you, and they will never do anything to hurt you. I just want to.
It's not about guns.
It's not about guns, and it really isn't about guns. It's about control. But
guns are the excuse.
Exactly right. And gun regulations lead to bad things.
Like this.
Like Ruby Ridge. I'm sure everyone's heard of Ruby Ridge. Everyone's heard of Randy Weaver. The big things we heard about him were
mid-'80s, mid-1980s.
A racist pig who hated the government and wanted to kill the president and everything else. And that's not exactly the case, and some of that's come out. But I just kind of wanted to go through what happened. Randy Weaver, he moved his family pretty much out, into the middle of nowhere. They kind of wanted to separate themselves because they didn't really trust the government, and who can blame them?
Right.
Especially after the fact when you see, you're right, that's one of the scariest things is to distrust the government and then realize that you were correct after the fact. I mean, that's terrible. I saw that somewhere.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong.
Exactly right.
So he moved within 25 miles of the Canadian border.
Yeah, pretty close. And I don't know if that was for a quick escape if he needed to or what. I really don't know. But he had this acquaintance who has been reported was his friend. I don't think they were really good friends, but he was part of the Aryan Nations, I think it was, a white supremacy group. Yep. And he convinced Randy to go to a meeting one of these times. And what I heard was that the FBI had infiltrated the group. And on the first day that Randy went in there, basically the undercover agent, identified him as...
Let's say how Randy got on their radar. And it was over a land dispute. There was a land dispute, a real estate deal that went bad. It went to court. The guy lost. Randy Weaver won, and the guy sent letters to the FBI and all these agencies saying that Randy Weaver wants to kill the Pope, and he wants to kill the president, he wants to kill his mother, he wants to kill everybody. Come and investigate him. And that's how his name first got on the radar.
And there were actually reports of letters sent from Randy to the president, I think Reagan at the time. The letter never surfaced. There was just an allegation made that he sent this letter.
Randy did write letters to the government, but he was saying...
threatening to kill.
Oh, no, there was none of that. He was saying that there are people out to get me, and I've got neighbors and friends, or ex-friends that are saying bad things about me. I just want you to be aware of that. So he was actually kind of innocent at this point.
Yeah, this FBI agent became, chums with Randy or whatever, and got a little bit of trust built up there, and wanted to buy a shotgun that Randy had, and I know you and I disagreed on this a little bit.
There's conflicting stories.
I'm going to tell the version that I believe. The agent wanted to buy a shotgun, claimed he knew the law and everything, bought the shotgun from Randy and said, "Hey, I don't have the tools. Let's use your tools. Cut the barrel off for me. I know the law. I'll show you where to cut it." Helped him measure it out. He cut it. Turns out he had cut it a quarter inch too short.
Yeah.
Basically turned around and said, "Hey, you're under arrest. I'm an FBI agent."
Kind of, yeah. The version I heard is that it was actually he gave the shotguns to the informant, the ATF informant, then sawed him off to set him up, because they really wanted him kind of as a informant to work with them.
But either way, gun regulation.
Yeah, it was about
regulation on a sawed-off shotgun.
An illegal sawed-off.
That's what they used to really start this whole investigation
process against him.
And they were staking out his yard. They put cameras up on his yard, on his property. Yeah. They got warrants to put cameras. What happened? He had a court date, and the court date was like March 20th or something like that. And he got a letter that said the court date was like February 20th. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he also was not communicating with as a court-appointed attorney because he didn't trust the government.
Yeah, right.
They're trying to set me up, so he was not contacting with him, but they did screw up the date of the court.
But you don't have to. He was sent a notification with the wrong court date on it. And
so the judge issued a warrant.
The judge issued a warrant because when they went for the warrant, the fact that this and I think they got a grand jury, I believe.
That was later.
The fact that the court date was screwed up never came up. We're just not going to mention that. I mean, then he missed his court date.
But then they said, well, all right, we won't arrest him. We'll wait until that date that we put on there incorrectly. If he shows up on that date, everything will be fine.
And that was it.
They were going to wait, but they didn't wait.
They didn't wait at all. And I think that's when they started. They put cameras
the U.S.
on his
Marshals got
property.
involved then.
Yeah, and that's when it really went downhill.
Yeah, because then they put guys in camo onto the property.
On his property, with the cameras on his property. They had snipers around the area.
Well, I'm talking about when they first got the son, Randy Weaver's
Okay,
son,
the recon team?
and his uncle.
Yeah, there was a team of 6, I believe, and I think it was the marshals.
And they were all on
The
camera.
dogs barked one night. His son said, I think...
Might be a deer.
We're running out of meat. I think it's a deer or something. I'm gonna go out there. He went out there with
his rifle.
With his rifle or shotgun, whatever it was. And the dogs were barking. They came upon these 6 men in camo, and the son questioned them. And I guess the dog was barking, maybe went after some of the guys, but they were on their property.
And actually, one of the agents said that wasn't the case. The dog was just sniffing at one of the guys like he always does.
Yeah, right.
And they shot the dog.
They shot the dog. So the son turned around. What would you do? These guys are on your property.
They don't know
shooting
who they are.
Just men in camo. I mean, what would you do? The son shot at these men.
Missed them.
Missed. They returned fire. He was hit in the arm.
Turned and ran away.
Ran away. Shot in the back.
Right.
In the back.
And then his uncle fired on them, and actually the uncle killed one of the marshals.
I think Deegan, something like that.
But he was shot as well.
Yep, he was hit. He was okay. He ran back to the house.
Marshals retreated.
Yep, and I guess later Randy and Vicky Weaver, the
wife,
mother and father, went and got their boy's body. He was dead. They took him back to a cabin or shed that they had in the backyard.
Yeah, it was a shed.
And then a little later, Randy was out there, went to visit the body or something. I'm sure he was a little distraught. His son and dog and uncle or brother or whatever had just gotten shot. Went out to visit the body. There was a sniper who saw him out there.
Well, yeah, this was a few days later, and they had orders.
Yeah,
rules of engagement.
They had rules of engagement special for Ruby Ridge. Normally, the rules of engagement for these types of teams are if you or somebody else are in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury,
or someone
you or yourself, right?
Self-defense.
Then you can shoot to kill. It's self-defense. They changed it to if you see an adult male. And if you want to read that, you have the rules. That'd be great.
This is what they said. They said if any adult male is observed with a weapon prior to the announcement, deadly force can and should be employed if the shot can be taken without hurting any children. If an adult in the compound is observed with a weapon after the surrender announcement is made and is not attempting to surrender, deadly force. If compromised by any animal, deadly force. Any subject other than Randall Weaver, Vicky Weaver, Kevin Harris, I think that's the uncle, presenting threats of death or grievous harm, the FBI rules allow deadly force to utilize to prevent the death of the agent or grievous bodily harm to oneself or to another.
So if it's not the Weaver adults or another adult male,
standard deadly
standard
force.
Procedure. Yeah. If it's them, shoot to kill. Randy went out to visit his son, unarmed, and I guess he moved at the last second because he was shot in the back. The sniper later said he was aiming at his spine but missed, injured him.
We got more information on the sniper too.
Yeah, and we do. He was involved in some other things like
he was a bastard.
Waco, maybe.
Yeah. He killed a lot of people.
Randy ran back to his house or whatever. The sniper, and this, you and I disagree on this a bit again, but sniper fired again, hit his wife Vicky in the face, who was holding their, I think, 10-month-old baby, right? Killed her, blew her face off. I mean...
Well, there was another man I thought was shot too.
At the same time?
Yes, somebody was shot in the back of the head or something, but I can't remember.
That's possible.
Weaver was shot through the armpit or something came out. But go ahead.
Yeah. What? And I did hear a report that when he was shot in the back, that they were yelling "freeze" at him when they hit him when he went and saw his baby. But it was the sniper that hit him, so I don't know how that could be possible. But at this point, Randy Weaver,
right. Vicky was behind the door.
You're
right.
His son had been hit. Yeah, and that's what I thought. His wife was behind the door. The sniper shot through the door, not knowing what was back there.
He was shooting her
face off. Yeah, and missed.
And she was holding the baby.
But he shouldn't have taken the shot at all.
No.
Randy had lost his dog. He had lost his son. He had lost his wife. He's in there with a couple daughters. and a baby, one being a baby,
16-year-old.
What are you going to do at this point? He didn't trust the government. Are you going to go out and surrender to the government that's slaughtering your family right now? Yeah. What are you going to do? He holed up in the house like you would. He didn't take up arms and shoot back. I mean, really, he stayed in the house, said, I'm not coming out. Not coming out, and they had negotiators coming in and out, and they had this anti-gun guy go in there and talk to him and finally say, hey, you walk out with me, they're not going to shoot you. And Randy's going, wait, they've already killed most of my family, half of my family. I don't trust them. And finally he did walk out. He was arrested. He was charged with all kinds of things. Acquitted of most of them. He had just a couple small charges.
And it was, I think, the failure to appear.
Failure to appear.
That was all it.
And they credited him with time served. So I think he served a couple months in jail for that. Fine. And a fine, small fine.
Well, I think it's important to know. I want to get what you were talking about with the FBI Deputy Director, Danny Colson, wrote in a memo after this. And he wrote, something to consider. Number 1, he wrote, charge against Weaver is bullshit. Number 2, no one saw Weaver do any shooting. Number 3, Vicky has no charges against her. Number 4, Weaver's defense. He ran down the hill to see what dog was barking at. Some guys in camo shot his dog, started shooting at him, killed his son. Harris did the shooting. Weaver, is in pretty strong legal position.
Yeah.
Meaning our ass is grass.
This is how media makes all of this terrible. Geraldo Rivera, huge anti-gun idiot.
I forgot the helicopter.
He flew over in a helicopter at some point.
During the siege.
There were reports that Weaver shot at the helicopter.
Of which the pilot denied.
The pilot said, nope, didn't happen.
No one heard any shooting.
Several times he said no, but they still put that in part of the report. They wouldn't reevaluate Weaver when they got new information about him.
That was
still said, huge threat.
It's your government. They're here to protect you.
You're saying Jerry Rivers actually might prevaricated on something? Jerry Rivers? Geraldo Rivera. That's his real name.
Yeah, I don't know that he made the reports that he was shot at. No. He was there. He was flying over, and the pilot said they weren't shot at. And of course, all of the government agencies pretty much got away with everything. They finally
Lon Haruchi was the sniper,
and they finally decided to press charges on him for
the Fed said he had immunity because he was
following the rules of engagement.
Yeah. But
they sent it back to the state prosecutor.
State said, we could charge him, but it'd be tough to prove.
And it was several years later.
We're not gonna do anything. So we got away. So off he goes to Waco and shoots a bunch more people.
All of this
guy's not
half of a family slaughtered. Pretty much nobody gets convicted of anything. Everyone just gets away with it.
And dead people are dead.
And then they moved on to Waco.
And you know what? These FBI agents and stuff like that, they're thinking they're doing such a great job. They're here for us.
Yeah, they got
these people are here for us.
Crazy racist.
And that's what I wanted to say. We didn't have 911 then, so the enemy was not the so-called terrorists, us. It was the militia groups. And
September 11th.
It was all these the government and Clinton and Janet Reno, two horrible people. They had to fight against their own American because they thought, these militias are going to overthrow us.
Exactly.
It's terrible. So they actually feared us. So they had to have,
Well, yeah, they
haven't had an enemy. The Cold War was over. Now 9/11 comes in. Oh, we don't have to worry about the militias anymore. We'll go after the so-called terrorists. Now, doing that, we'll rob you of all your civil rights.
Now think about what's happening now. Obama is saying how Al-Qaeda's on its heels. There is no more terrorism in the world. We don't have to worry about terrorism. We're pulling our troops out of everywhere.
The enemy is us.
So now we're back to gun control and things like that.
Which gets me back really quick because we're running out of time. The ATFE sting that went wrong.
They haven't got much better.
No, they've gotten, no one died in this, but it's incompetence.
Yeah.
They set up a sting operation to buy drugs and guns and stuff in a bad neighborhood in Milwaukee. They set up a storefront. They had undercover agents, were doing it. They were buying guns and all this stuff. Out of this whole thing, there weren't any arrests out of it, but unfortunately, the agents left a fully automatic gun in a car, along with some handguns and some other things that got stolen.
Jeez.
So now there's an actual fully automatic gun out there. They were buying back guns, and they were getting it out there saying, hey, we'll pay top dollar for guns. They were paying $1,500 for a $400 gun, so people were actually going to Gander Mountain and buying a $400 block or whatever, coming back, and the agents were giving them, $1,500. Well, no wonder. So incompetence. They had $35,000. Somebody broke into their store, stole $35,000 of merchandise from the store. When the agents left, they left a bunch of documents there that had sensitive information of undercover agents' names and vehicle numbers and things. The building owner says he owed me $15,000
for rent and things like
rent
that.
and back stuff.
Wow.
The other thing was when they got in there, there was an alarm system that was available, but it wasn't activated because that was the duty of the ATF agents. And the owner of the building that rented said, "Well, they're the ATF. They're going to install their own stuff.
They'd have no security."
So they never installed any kind of alarm system. So that's that $35,000 of taxpayers' money was gone. No arrests. It was a snafu cluster F from the beginning. And this is the ATF. This is the same organization that's had so many things happen with Fast and Furious, and we're involved with Waco to some extent, and Ruby Ridge, and all of these stuff. And there's nobody in charge of the ATF. All these acting agents. Finally, Obama says we're going to, appoint somebody.
Yeah, that'll be great.
And this is Eric Halder, who's in charge of these guys. It's just incompetence.
Well, let's hear how smart some of these liberals are that when they talk about guns and things like that.
And what we have found that now with the AR-15, they have a slide stock which you put in. It's legal, and it makes the gun act fully automatic.
I want one of those.
I didn't. Where do you get one of those?
I don't know. You can get them. They're
legal.
legal.
They're legal. A collapsible
slide stock, and it makes
you put it in your gun. And it makes it fully automatic.
It's a slide stock, and what you do.
That was Dianne Feinstein, by the way.
What you do is you slide the stock. It makes it full auto.
Full auto.
I mean,
it makes it act
amazing.
like a full auto.
When you have a select fire, you know how hard it is to find, the switch there. If you could just slide the stock and make it full auto, that's perfect.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell she's talking about there. But that's the ignorance
I think
of the people that want to take our guns.
She's probably talking about bump fire, which is not the same thing.
Maybe.
And I don't know any.
I'm not going to give her that much credit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give her credit either, but.
Anyways, all kinds of crap going on. Oakland police, almost as bad as some of the other agencies. This is in California, where they're pointed their guns at a 1-year-old sleeping in a bed when they busted into someone's house, along with several other incidents with the Oakland police. I've heard a lot of bad stories about the Oakland police. They're very, very corrupt. Mm-hmm. And the mayor says, "Oh well, we're making changes and we're making progress, and we realize that
progress, huh?"
44 officers were disciplined for their behavior, including the incident where an Iraqi war veteran was hit in the head with a beanbag projectile shot at close range. So, stay out of Oakland.
Stay out of every big city. They're all corrupt.
How much time do we have there, Mr. Producer?
About a minute. About a minute and a half, probably. Yeah.
I love that the Eastern Sports and Outdoor Show was canceled because they banned those scary black rifles from their show. And so many exhibitors started pulling out of it. Finally, the NRA pulled out, and
that's a good point. You say finally the NRA pulled out.
Yeah.
They were like the last big sponsor to pull out. Of course, they waited. They don't need the black scary rifles either.
But the guy that owns the facility that this show is at is British. All right.
Is he Piers Morgan?
I think it's his brother.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true.
Piers Morgan.
Piers. But just to give you an idea, you know what FUDs are? Those are the guys that want their hunting guns.
Yeah, it's a really offensive term that doesn't help any of those people grab onto our cause.
So don't use it?
No, I don't think so.
All right. These are gun owners that don't understand what the Second Amendment is.
That's better.
He says, I don't know why we have nothing to worry about. This is what he put out when some people were pulling out and it was still going forward. We're unique in that we celebrate the authentic hunting and fishing tradition and the traditional needs of the sport. And those scary rifles are not hunting guns that are not authentic.
We heard Carolyn McCarthy earlier say that a traditional rifle is much better than a rifle. So, I mean, what they're saying is right in line with her.
Oh, we have so much stuff we need to do. We're running out of time. We have so much stuff.
It's been a decent show, though.
That's fun.
It was fun. I had fun.
I had fun. John, did you have fun? Because that's all that's really important.
John's running back to his microphone now.
No, they had fun.
He had fun.
You have anything else? You want to wrap it up, or
you want? I guess we can wrap it up.
Want some music to go out with?
Sure.
Found this.
I love this.
All right, well, we want to thank you for listening to Saturday Afternoon Shootout.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Until next time, stay informed,
stay armed,
and stay safe.
Bye-bye.